Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for the 7th of August. All right, now we've come through the always uncertain Monday, how the market reconnects, especially when there's loads of geopolitical issues, like we've seen the bit of backlash from China. So looking at the major currencies, it's it's one of those things too. Like Euro's still sort of just drifting in that downtrend, but we did see it bounce a touch, almost up towards 115.80. There's no clear sign here right at the moment, fundamentally, around the US dollar. I think Euro, the ECB were a little bit, I'd say, neutral to dovish, the Fed a little bit hawkish. So sure enough, Euro should be lower, but geopolitical issues are starting to come into play. And always a little bit disappointing to see, one of the trades that you really liked from a few days ago on Friday, sterling down below 130 the figure, finally rolling over. On the back of Brexit issues as well. Dollar CAD just trading sideways. And as we come into the business end for the Aussie and Kiwi, we've got the RBA rate decision today. We've got the RBNZ tomorrow. So they're just sort of trading sideways into that event. And dollar yen still just calmly trading sideways as we go into, start the week off with all those, issues and tensions around the offshore yuan, the value of the yuan, the US dollar, the retaliation from China to the US, etc. So just look at the US dollar, where it sits right at the moment. Now, we're trying to work out, is the dollar going up or down? Well, clearly it's going up at the moment. It's a little bit tentative, and you can see very clearly where the support comes in. Now, it's a matter of trying to work out, you're looking at the upcoming economic numbers, whether they're from an offshore country or the US, whether the currency keeps going higher. Now, it's a bit of a tough ask at this stage, I think, to sort of call. I mean, I think fundamentally it's going up, but the geopolitical issues are some of the issues that are sort of pushing it higher at the moment. And over here, I've got the offshore yuan. Now, I've just overlaid the dollar index, US dollar index, in green next to it, just to get a bit of an idea of what's going on here. See if there's a close correlation, and there really pretty much is. Okay, so I'm just looking at the two variables here, and you can see, it's a little bit not as extreme, but the dollar index and the offshore yuan, it's a pretty good match, right, for the US dollar. So sort of keep an eye on that as we go through the next couple of sessions, or the next period, I should say, because if this relationship is very close, well, then we could see a potential trade here, not on just the offshore yuan, but also on the dollar index. So if this starts to dive, then we may see some trading opportunities across the other majors. Now, let's just have a look. So when you do come back and you check your charts after you've either been asleep or been away from the computer, you really want to see what's the news, what's driving what. Now, one of the key things to look at is, if I just come back over here to the news page, now just have a look at the various bits and pieces going on. It's a good idea to get a bit of a grasp of what the market's focusing on. Sterling drops on Brexit fears. Now, those fears, okay, were in the market come Friday or Thursday, Friday. I mean, they've been around for a few days. It's just a matter of the timing when these things really come into play. Now, they're talking about the trade tensions boosting the dollar. That's more about, even the offshore yuan devaluing. That currency war is going to be more important than the actual trade war itself. Then you've got all these variables that are going to come out. Trump's trade war hits the one thing that was working, energy exports to China. Well, of course, you're going to have a few knee-jerk reactions. And then you get the run-on effect from the US-China trade wars, pressure Latin American currencies, equities. They just don't really know what's going on and where it's going to hit. And then you come back and think, well, okay, so if I come back to the major currency pairs, okay, you're looking at, these current moves. Now, the currencies, the majors are sort of really jostling for a little bit of, solid direction here. What we're talking about is, if I just get off that one, come back over to my main one, we're trying to work out the pairs that make a lot of sense. Now, we do have the RBA today, right, and the RBNZ tomorrow. We've got Euro. Now, without these geopolitical issues, I'd be happy to get short, but I can see as this has been trading sideways, we may see a little pop here, take out some short positions in Euro, and it may also happen here on sterling once again. But but it's a little bit too hard to call. So what you need to do is look at what is coming out and then sort of piece it together around the major potential fundamental drivers. Okay, if I can just get that up. Okay, so just looking at the MyFX Trading Hub now, I've actually sort of slightly changed the trading conditions here. These geopolitical issues are starting to dominate, and they are starting to get in the way again. Okay, these current moves, some of them are just nice fundamental moves, but the rest of them are a little bit skew-if. So today, RBA. Now, when you're looking at the RBA interest rate decision, obviously look very closely at the RBA page, but they have been very quiet the last 12 months. I can't see anything just at the moment where we may see a change here. The key thing too for the RBA, especially for the Aussie dollar, is the impact of the trade tariffs on China from the US. Now, that is, I think, potentially a massive negative for the Australian economy, China being the biggest importer of Australian products. So that export market could be the black swan event for Australia, and that's where I think you'll see no particular change here from the RBA. If anything, they may start to talk a lot more about the potential impact of the trade tariffs. That would be a negative, and I think we might see the Aussie drift off. But outside of that, we don't have a hell of a lot over the next 24 hours. So that's your major focus for the major pairs. Now, if we do come back in and have a look at the key data, the data that is due over the next 24 hours, just keep an eye on these European numbers, because we did have the industrial orders yesterday. Okay, really bad numbers in Germany. Now, we have the industrial output and some trade balance figures here out of Germany as well. Now, if these all start to roll over and look very bad, well, then Euro you would expect to keep cruising to the downside. If there's a correction there, then we may see Euro a little bit higher. But that's outside of the RBA decision, right? Those German industrial numbers are pretty much the only other numbers to have a look at. Halifax house prices, definitely worth a little bit of a bo peep. But I'm starting to think that sterling, all this crap about Brexit is starting to really impact too much, and it's a bit hard to call exactly what's going on. So for me, what you've got to do is at the moment is just remain a little bit patient. Okay, we do have support and resistance levels here on most pairs. On the Aussie and Kiwi, we've got support and resistance. Euro, we've got a resistance line here, which is trading sideways. To me, it stinks of a squeeze to the top side. Sterling, this is a really steep move and a pretty average resistance line. So just have a look at that. Selling back towards 129.80 looks to me like a much better idea for sterling. And as you can see also, we've got support and resistance here on dollar CAD, but it's not really doing much there. And same for dollar yen. So there's quite a few of these currencies in a holding pattern, because we're waiting for fundamental releases, which aren't until sort of later in the week. We do have the RBA, I know that, but there's no other sort of key numbers. Otherwise, the traders have been getting so jammed over these trade issues with China and the US. They're sort of happy to sit patiently and wait, right? So that's what you really need to be doing at the moment, is just wait for the numbers to drop, and hopefully we get some sort of direction from these fundamental releases. Otherwise, it's just this is part of the patient game of being a trader and waiting for the opportunities to build up. Now, it can be a little bit disheartening if you miss an opportunity. Don't turn your screens on, just start trading because you missed something, right? That's a recipe for disaster. So for the day, I'll be watching the RBA, watching the offshore dollar yuan, see what's happening there, see if there's any news out of China or the US. And that's what we've got to do. Just keep it nice and tight. All right, guys, have a good trade day. We'll see you in the trade zone. Cheerio.